Great. Marc Driscoll, head for One Planet Food, which I think is a great name of WWF United Kingdom. I have two sons, and one of them is 15 years old, which is a time in life when you're thinking a lot about everything. And one day he came back to me and he said, "Daddy, I think it's catastrophe that they're cutting back on space exploration so much." And I said, "Why? Why do you think that is a catastrophe?" "Well, you know, if we don't find other planets to support us very soon, we're going to be dead."
I think he's got a point there.
Yeah, I think, and partly he got this from WWF saying that, you know, we are consuming more than one planet. So you scared him up.
Yeah, well, I think the One Planet concept is a great communications tool, and it's a great visual communications tool.
So we are looking forward to hear more about this.
Okay. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for inviting me here today to Sweden. It's my first time in Sweden. Stockholm's a lovely city, great city. I came via Heathrow from London, and it's great to see a great public transport system, many people on bicycles, wide streets and city streets that are not totally clogged up with traffic, a problem that we do have in London. And I was entertained by colleagues at WWF Sweden to a low-carbon meal. So I tasted some of the cuisine that you have to offer. As I said, my name's Marc Driscoll. I'm head of the One Planet Food Programme at WWF UK, which aims to reduce the environmental and social impacts of food production and consumption. I've got 10 minutes, so this is going to be a fairly whirlwind presentation, so excuse me if I fly through this pretty rapidly. I'm going to really focus on why we need to look at both production and consumption, lifestyle choices and decisions when dealing with greenhouse gas emissions from food and agriculture, and why a holistic approach is required if we are really to reduce GHG emissions globally within safe limits. I'm going to focus on the context for that and look at two issues, one of waste, which is a huge driver, and one on sustainable diets and some of our work on sustainable diets. And I actually believe that the choices that we all make 3 times a day, at breakfast, lunch and dinner, if we make the right choices, together with improvements working with agricultural producers, real leadership from governments and food businesses, that we can move towards a more healthy, sustainable and equitable food system in the long run. And it requires a new collaborative approach between all those partners. I'm going to focus on consumption. We do a lot of work in the UK with farmers and producers, a lot of work on roadmaps with the beef industry, the dairy industry, to improve efficiencies in production, but my focus is certainly on some of the consumption. So why is consumption and lifestyle choices? Why do they matter? So we are actually consuming our latest Living Planet report, which was mentioned earlier on, the resources equivalent to 1.5 planets annually, and we're actually eating away at the planet's natural capital faster than it can be replenished. Some probably 60% of our ecosystems across the globe are in a state of decline. I believe that food is at the heart of probably 3 key environmental issues: climate change, water scarcity and biodiversity loss. The latter 2 I won't touch on today. I'll focus on climate change. But we're also experiencing increasing price volatility and global insecurity around our food system. And much of sustainability will link into price volatility. Increasing resource use will only add to price volatility. So these issues, climate change is at the heart of some of these agendas. Food contributes approximately about 23% of Europe's ecological footprint. This is more UK based, but if everyone in Europe consumed the resources that we do, we would obviously need 3 planets. So along with personal mobility and housing, it makes up a significant proportion of our ecological footprint. We've done a lot of work in the UK with an organisation called the Food and Climate Research Network. If you look at both production and consumption, production, we produce about 20% of greenhouse gas emissions comes from our food system. So all the way from agricultural production to final end consumption. If you include land use change, so predominantly from deforestation, because in the UK we import 40% of our food, and in Europe we import a significant part of our food from other parts of the world, so we have to look at those issues. 56%, as has been said earlier, roughly from agricultural production through nitrous oxides, methane, 58% through animal products, and in the UK we have a Climate Change Act. The government is committed to 80% reductions by 2050. We believe that actually the food system, particularly in the UK, needs to reduce emissions by 70% by 2050. And our analysis says the more that you can do, working with farmers and producers on improving agricultural efficiency through technology, better management techniques, extension services, all those kind of things, the better. But we can't get away from the fact that consumption and lifestyle changes are also required, particularly in the developed world. I won't touch on too much. There was a report by the Government Office of Science in the UK, Future of Food and Farming. It says both demand measures and consumption measures are required, reducing food waste, rebalancing diets. I just want to touch on food waste. It's crazy. We live in a world in which 30% of all food produced is wasted. That's a huge driver of climate change and climate change emissions, let alone habitat loss. The graph on the right, in the developing world, it tends to be mainly post-harvest losses through lack of storage and infrastructure. In the developed world, it tends to be consumer end. So we buy either too much and waste it because it's out of date, or we don't use food efficiently, or use the whole carcass of an animal. Lots of reasons. But I just wanted to touch on that because I think it's a huge driver which we can't forget. The other area that we've been working on in the UK is looking at sustainable diets. Our work suggests that what is good in terms of reducing GHG emissions in terms of food consumption is also good for our own health. So we produced a report which I'm going to just really touch on, Live Well, a balance of healthy and sustainable food choices, which basically looked at our own government's healthy eating advice. They've developed something called the Eat Well plate. And the graph on the left suggests if the UK population was to eat healthily, this is from our own government, this is what should happen. So 33% fruit and veg, 33% carbohydrate. We mapped current eating habits, which suggests that things like fruit and veg people aren't eating enough of. But we then also mapped this against GHG emissions. I won't go into details about the methodology behind the reports. Again, this is the current existing diet in the UK. We also mapped onto the government's own healthy eating advice our targets in the UK are to reduce emissions from food consumption by 25% by 2020. This is what we should be consuming, so a lot more fruit and veg. Live Well is not actually a sustainable diet, it just maps health and GHG emissions. And we found that for the average farmer, this food is cheaper, is healthier. It does contain meat, it does contain fish, it's just about moderation of diets. Our conclusions are the current diet in the UK is neither healthy or sustainable. Eating healthy is compatible with reducing GHG emissions, and our work is just a starting point. I believe, radical change in the food system is required. We have to take a global perspective. We might focus nationally. It will be a key issue. We do need to look holistically if we're to come up to the challenge, improving efficiencies as well as production. Radical redesign and business is not an option. I haven't touched on the role between consumers and retailers. I know that is another discussion. There is a big question about whether consumers should be given any unsustainable choices at all. When you look at, many consumers are certainly believe in sustainability and environmental issues, but when they actually, with their shopping trolley in front of a big shelf full of different products, 1 or 2 seconds, they usually think about taste, quality, and sustainability actually comes quite low when they're actually physically choosing the products. So the question is, should consumers be given any choice for purchasing unsustainable products when shopping? And some consumers would argue that they want others to make those decisions for them. I think my time is up. It was a bit of a rapid flow through some of the lifestyle issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. No, I agree. 10 minutes, it's not a lot. But we will have hopefully then 15 minutes also towards the end for some discussions and questions coming up as well. Because, you are raising a lot of interesting questions. And the last one, of course, that you yourself raised is extremely provocative. And goes back to the question whether we as consumers can actually always make all these choices or need to be more steered, maybe by our authorities. Anyway, I forgot to give presents for, I saw you looked really mad over there. and this is in Swedish, so you can practice a bit.
Oh, okay.
We're trying to take over to become one of the major languages of the world.
Okay. I will share this with friends and colleagues.
Exactly. Your colleagues from WWF can translate it for you.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And of course to the previous speakers as well. I'm very sorry about this. Yes, I am. Thank you very much.